All right. You have heard me talking about visionaries. If you follow me on social media, it's all I've been talking about mostly. And obviously, if you listen to the podcast, you will have heard me talk about it. And something that I thought would be really important and useful and insightful for you is to actually share a little bit of behind the scenes in terms of how did it come about? What does it look like? What's included? All of that. So let's start from the start. And why visionaries? Why visionaries? When I first started coaching quite a while ago, I taught and coached on what I know, what I knew, and what I was comfortable with. And that was very fresh trauma. I'd worked in the police force for 8.5 years, then at a university, and it was really easy for me to coach and support people who were still very fresh to the idea of coaching and personal development and self love and self trust and all of that. And it was amazing. It was amazing. My first 6 month group coaching program, True Self Experience, really taught my soul framework. So, my process of navigating, healing, and processing trauma. And, I loved that program. I loved it so much. And again, it was so supportive for people. I was creating a space for people to come in and acknowledge and speak to secrets that they'd held for years, to acknowledge their truth in a way that felt raw and felt vulnerable and felt open, but in doing so allowed them to move through it. Then I had kids and life changes. I change, and whether you have kids or don't have kids, we evolve. We evolve as humans. And, I kind of kept my business going the same way after my first child. And then after my second, I took some time off and came back with like a 12-month program, so more of a membership, which was perfect. It was perfect for my community then. It was perfect for me. Um, and what I noticed as I was approaching the end of the first 12 months was it just didn't really feel aligned anymore. So for me, I wasn't as excited to create the content that I was. And I felt within the community that they felt the same. It was like, oh, we're showing up because, you know, we're here and we're part of this community and we want to be here. But it didn't feel aligned. It didn't feel aligned. And when I took a step back, what I noticed was my clients wanted more. They were ready. We'd done that initial thing. They knew how to support themselves. And now they were kind of stuck in this loop of, I want more and I just can't get out of it. That's how Visionaries was born. Because for every single client who I thought about, who I wanted to support, and the people in my community, and also for me, the work that I wanted to do and how I wanted to support my community, it was bringing something to life. So when I say that, it doesn't necessarily have to be a thing. So for some people, it's a business. For some, it was writing a book. For some, it was just moving, moving house. For some, it was creating space for themselves. For some, it was self trust. They had a vision for themselves and their life that they wanted to bring to life. And visionaries, the word, had been circling for quite a while before I actually landed on what this container looked like. And it was just go time. It was go time. So it was a really natural evolution in my business where I was stepping away from people who really needed me to be there in the thick of things, and more so people who wanted support, wanted to bounce ideas off someone, wanted a mentor, wanted a cheerleader, wanted someone to hold them accountable. And as I said, it was this natural evolution. And of course, with that, there were people that drifted away because they weren't quite ready for that. And that's okay. Right. So Visionaries was created in that evolution in myself because I noticed that I wasn't excited about coaching, that I say basic, it's not basic, but it kind of is like those fundamentals of healing. I had done that for so long. And as I said, I loved it and it absolutely serves a purpose. But I was falling out of love with coaching those principles. And I honestly believe that for me, anyway, my business is a vessel for my purpose. It has to give me life and fuel me, or it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun for me. It's not going to be fun for my clients. And so this evolution began and Visionaries was born. Same clients at a different stage of their life. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And, I guess, which I've kind of written down a bunch of questions that I think might be useful and also how I can create and share behind the scenes of what this program actually is. And one thing that came up was like, well, what's the difference? What's the difference between Visionaries and other programs? I have always coached my clients. Yes, I'm a coach, so that's what I do. But I realized that I develop a really deep relationship with them. I share parts of my life with them. We're almost like a little family. We're a community. It's not, me and them. There's not this big separation and there's no hierarchy. There's no hierarchy in my business. It is a mutual respect, a friendship. It's a collaboration. And Visionary has tools and resources and modules to support my clients move forward, but it's done more in a mentoring way, in a collaboration. Yes, it is still coaching, but it's deeper. It's less about question, answer, and more about a really deep inquiry. I used to, so previous group coaching calls were very much, I would get on, I'd be like, how can I support you today? And it was up to each person to tell me what they wanted help with, and I would coach them on that. Visionaries has some calls like that, but there are also calls where I'm asking them questions. So there is a deeper inquiry as a collective that we then share. And that creates the community, that creates the collaboration. It opens and invites discussions in a way that we're not really invited to do normally. We have conversations that I can guarantee you we would never ever share with anybody else. And one of the things that I value so deeply is having a container where I don't have to save my clients and my clients don't have to save each other. Someone can come and be in the thick of things and we can hold them, but no one's trying to fix you. No one's like dismissing what you're feeling. No one's like bypassing anything. It's just real and it's raw, and that is where growth is. So while yes, they're looking at these visions and focusing on bringing them to life, there is also just this beautiful reciprocal collaboration of conversation. And that is the biggest difference for me, rather than it being I'm leading. Well, I'm not really, wasn't really leading previously, but rather than it being you ask the question and I'll, question back and forth, it's more of a collaboration. So let's look at like what are the practical pieces, right? I know that it's interesting how things change because once upon a time, people only cared about, what was included. And I know that's not necessarily like it's important, but it's not the thing, right? What's included is not the thing that gets people to join or sign up or, anything like that. But I think it's still important because you're not going to pay thousands of dollars for something to get no support. You know, it's one of my bugbears. I actually see some coaches talk about, they make however many hundreds and thousands of dollars a year and their calendar's completely empty. And in my head, I'm like, how? How? How do you actually support your clients if you're not coaching them? Anyway, side note. What is included? We have 12 group coaching calls. So 12 calls where we are looking at inquiries, questions, that kind of thing. It's open, as I said, some are guided, some are not. It's beautiful. You also get one on one, 60-minute one on one coaching sessions with me. So, in addition to the group calls, where we work together as a collective. You also get one on ones. This is to ensure that you get that highly individualized support so we can really focus on what you want. In addition to that, you also get voice note support between sessions. So if you have something that comes up for you that you're not sure about, or you want something checked or read or whatever, you have that support as well. So it's not just, and this is the thing about coaching that some people don't understand, is that it's not just the calls, right? You have ongoing support even when you don't have calls. Every week you have support. There are monthly modules. So each month I release a new module which has an exploration. These aren't, Visionaries is not this regimented teaching container. It is not something where it's like, you need to go away, you need to listen to this, you need to do this work, and you need to come back and then we're going to talk about it. No, these are inquiries. These are open hearted questions and insights into how you can bring your vision to life, where you might be holding yourself back. How can you claim your brilliance? We have 2 half-day virtual retreats, which just feel like a really cozy way to spend the day. So we come together for 3 hours and I prepare a retreat using all of my skills, all of my tools, all of my knowledge. So, breath work, energy coaching, traditional coaching, everything else. And depending on how we're feeling as a collective and what we're navigating, I prepare a half-day retreat for us. And we also have an opening ceremony and a closing ceremony. So, 14 calls, 14 group calls in total, 2 half-day retreats, one-on-one support. It's beautiful. It's immersive. It's amazing. And so, as I said earlier, I used to teach True Self Experience, which evolved into The Warrior Within, which is no longer running. And that was very much a, you know, me teaching framework for how to heal, how to process, how to move forward. Visionaries, however, is more around, as I said, like these deep inquiries. So the modules look at dreaming. So what are your dreams? What are you actually envisaging for yourself? Fears? Let's get real about it. Limitations and blocks, which are important. Often we know them, but sometimes we don't, right? So you might be aware of them, but we can sometimes downplay what's actually happening. We look at self trust and spirituality. We look at navigating change, and we look at your magic. And for some people, these might sound like fluffy topics. They are not. They are not. They are deeper, they are less defined, right? So if I come in and say, I'm teaching a module on acknowledgement or a module on release or a module on self care, right? They're very, people can, or mindset. It's like, okay, I know what I'm coming into there. I know, I have an idea of what that's going to look like. Whereas for these modules, there is information provided and then it is over to you. So, yes, it sounds fluffy, but it is not. It is probably the deepest work that you will do because it involves you being in collaboration with your soul, with your inner wisdom, with your highest self. And for some, it sounds fluffy, but for those of you who have done it, you know that it's not, right? Visionaries calls you up and in to who you were meant to be, who you were born to be, right? And with that comes deeper work. I am a spiritual person. I do breath work. I'm a channel. I meditate. I journal. There's all sorts of things that, you know, I do to support my spirituality. And it would feel very wrong if I was to teach a very structured academic program container that didn't touch on that, right? All of my community are spiritual people because they do that inner work. They look at what is more than how they're currently living, right? We have this connection to our higher self, to the liminal space, to all of that. It's amazing. And another change, I guess, with Visionaries is I've made it an application. So rather than anyone just being able to come and pay, I intentionally made this an application process because the bottom line, and this might sound mean, it's not meant to be, but Visionaries isn't for everyone. It's really not. It is for people who are ready. I have worked with people in the past that said they were and maybe they thought they were and they just weren't. And I've also worked with people where there was this misalignment and it's not fun for either party, right? And I think every business owner goes through this when we first start. It's almost like I have to work with everybody. Like I don't want to disappoint anyone. I need like the traction or this and that. And I don't want to do that anymore. Right? I run my business so I get to work with people that I want to work with, that I choose to work with. And also adding in an application process, it tells me that people are serious about it, right? When people are like, yeah, I'm taking the time to complete this application, it tells me that they're serious about themselves, serious about their growth, serious about what they want, serious about their visions. And I think that's important. Anyone can click a button and type in a credit card number, but those people who take the time to actually fill out an application process or an application form, I should say, they're ready. They're ready. And that's the type of people that I want to work with. I want to work with those people who are like, this is, well, they might be like this, they might not, but it's like, this is fucking scary, but I'm doing it anyway. Like, I know this might be hard, but I'm going to do it. I am so committed to changing the way that I live, and I'm filling out this form. And in saying that, if you are new to my community or if you're not sure whether Visionaries is for you, fill out the application, right? Fill out the application and voice those questions. And we can also book a discovery call as well, where we can organize the time to have a chat to see whether it's right for you. The last thing I want is for anyone to feel like, oh, maybe this isn't for me because I'm not quite sure if I'm ready, or maybe I don't have the level of self awareness that these other people do. And then you really want to do the program and it might be perfect for you, but you don't do the application, right? Fill out the application. The other thing is, if you're unsure, you can still fill out the application and then change your mind, right? You know, until you've been accepted and confirmed, there's no commitment here. And obviously, I'm not encouraging anyone to do that if you're not actually serious about it. But if you are unsure, fill out the application and we will chat. This isn't, I'm not scary. I don't believe that I'm scary. It's just, it's important for me to have the right people in this space because we do talk about so many things, and there is a level of trust in this container that is necessary, that is needed to hold each other and hold ourselves. And if there is anyone that I feel doesn't align with that or can't hold that level of trust, then they're not going to be invited in. And again, that might sound brutal, but it's important for me. I work with people who have experienced trauma, and the reality is throughout our time together, that trauma will come up in some form. We'll talk about certain things that will be uncomfortable. And if there's anyone in these spaces that makes other people feel unsafe or like they can't be the fullest version of themselves or the truest version of themselves, then it's not the space for them. In saying that, I've had people who have wanted to join Visionaries. It hasn't been right, but I've worked one on one with them, right? So it's one of those things, if you're ready for support and you know you want support, there are always ways to work together if we're the right fit. And I say that because I have to be the right fit for you too, right? It's not just about me feeling like you're the right fit. Coaching is, I say all the time, coaching is like dating. You know, you have to have that relationship in order to get the most out of it. And that's important, right? Because on these calls, as I said, we go deep. There's no surface level stuff with me. Sometimes there is, we banter and we have fun, and I think people find that strange as well. But we have a lot of fun. We joke I can't remember a call where we haven't laughed. You know, we also cry. We hold each other in so many things. And it's beautiful, right? And I ask deep questions. So there will be some calls where I'm asking you to go inwards in a way that you maybe haven't before. You know, I ask you to share in the group because by using our voice, we're putting it out into the world. We're claiming what we want. We're declaring our desires. And that's really important. But also, visionaries cultivates relationships. It cultivates connection. And in order to do that, we need to be honest. You know, I think we've all been in those containers where there's some people who you know just like either aren't talking or aren't being honest, and it's really annoying. It's really annoying. And the other thing is, if I feel like someone isn't being honest or is bypassing or maybe, you know, dismissing something, then I call them on it. I ask them about that. You know, it's my role as a coach to bring out the best in someone. If you're looking to bring a vision to life, then like you can't do that and hide at the same time. And so if you're like, I half-heartedly want this thing and I'm not prepared to do any inner work or, you know, be seen, then don't apply. Like visionaries isn't for you. But if you're like, oh, okay, like I'm ready to be seen, then it probably is for you. And how do you know visionaries is for you? It's one of those things where when I think about it, and you know, everyone in my community is has such varied background and varied experiences. But the one thing that stands out to me is they've had that nudge or that niggle or that little voice being like, there's got to be more. Like, I want more than this. Or, and maybe it's a really obvious thing that you want. Or maybe it's like, I don't actually know what I want, but this doesn't feel great for me. And you just can't seem to make it happen. Or maybe it's not happening fast enough. You know, I've heard that. It's like, I know what I want and I know I can have it. I just need to, you know, stop this or break this pattern or whatever it is. And Visionaries is a space that helps you do that. It is for you if you want accountability. If you know that, you know, you're maybe not the best at doing things unless there's someone there, and I'm not chasing you, right? So don't think you're coming into Visionaries and I'm going to be sending you a message every morning saying, what's the update? Where are you at with this? Blah, 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 blah. Like I do check in from time to time, but part of coaching is you lead, right? I am here for you and I will support you in anything that you need as best as I can, but you lead it. It's not me chasing you. So if you want someone who's like, I want you to message me every day and I want you to have the answers for me and I want you to tell me what to do and I want you to do this, Visionaries isn't for you, right? Visionaries is self led. Visionaries are self led. They are people who know they're ready for more and they're prepared to do that for themselves. You'll be held and you'll be loved and you'll be supported and you'll be cheered and you'll be called out and called up and called in, but I'm not doing the work for you and I'm not going to like micromanage you, right? And that's part of the expansion of Visionaries is leading your own life, because so often when we've experienced trauma we do let other people lead. We wait to be told what to do, or we do what we think is expected or what other people expect of us, and in order to break that cycle we need to do things differently. So that's part of it. It's part of the evolution of going from a life that is fine, good, you know, to thriving, to feeling fulfilled, to feeling alive. What else do I think is important about visionaries? You need to be prepared to talk. Not every day, not every call, no, probably every call. And, you know, there are absolutely days where I know that people are navigating stuff and it's like, I can't right now, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm never going to force you to answer questions, and I'm never going to demand that you ask something if you're uncomfortable. Not at all. But it's also not a container where you come and you don't speak, right? Because what are you going to get out of it if you're not getting coached, if you're not getting supported? And also, we've all, again, all been in those containers where some people are very comfortable speaking and some people are not. And that's the beauty of it, of having a mix of people, is being invited. The other thing, I'm really comfortable with silence. So if I ask you a question and you're trying to avoid it, I'll just sit there and wait. I will just sit there and wait. It becomes a little game. And I think most of all, the best thing and the thing that I love the most about Visionaries is the relationship that we all have. It's the friendship, it's the collaboration, it's the support, it's beautiful. My favorite days are days when I have calls, because it means that we get to come together. It means that I get to support people, and that's ultimately, like, that's what I love more than anything in the world. When I think about business, like, I love my kids probably more, but um yeah, Visionaries is this space for you to be exactly who you are, for you to be seen, for you to be held, for you to hold other people. And I get emotional thinking about it, because for a really long time, I didn't have that. I didn't even know what that meant. I was this person that I thought I needed to be, because I never had the space to be who I was. And every single person that comes into my community, I want that for them. I want them to know that this space is theirs, for them to be exactly who they are. If they want to come and complain about family, then they can. If they want to come and rant about, I don't know, anything, they can. They want to celebrate, that's always encouraged. But it's very much about having a space where you can express yourself truthfully, honestly, and openly. And I do get emotional about it, because I think about my clients that I've worked with for years, and even my new clients, and knowing that they have that space is so important to me. It's so important to me, because the world doesn't create enough spaces like that. I I actually got asked recently about, what my vision was and the impact that I wanted to have. And the last thing that I wrote down was for us to come together as community rather than competitors, and see what it is to fully support each other in the mess of being a human. Because being a human is messy, life is messy and unpredictable. And that's honestly why I believe people need visionaries. Why it's important to have a coach and mentor to help you navigate that mess. So that's a little bit of behind the scenes of why I created Visionaries, how it came about, what it is, and without giving all of the inside secrets away, um, for you to see whether it's right for you or not. Clearly, I'm very passionate about it, and it means a lot to me. The sales page obviously has a lot more information on it, but you can read words. It's another thing to hear about the heart behind something. And this is something that I am so proud of, is that this container and everything that I've done is created with so much heart, with so much intention and so much purpose. And we have the most incredible people gathering already, the most incredible people. So the next thing is, if you are interested, if you want to be a part of it, you need to fill out the application form or send me a message for us to have a discovery call. To find that, you just go to jackierogash.com/visionaries. The link to that is in the show notes below. But this is where magic happens, and even the process of filling out an application tells me that you're ready for more, right? It speaks volumes. So click the link in the show notes, or go to my Instagram bio, or, wherever. You can find it everywhere. If you're on my email list, I've sent you 100 emails already about it. But if you're ready, click the link, fill out the application process, and you will hear from me within 24 hours. If you have any questions, please always reach out. I'm so here to answer everything, but I really hope to see you in there, because this is where we do bring your visions to life.